The President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. Court officer is now instructed to call TCW 754 into the courtroom, please. The President, good morning, Mr. Witness. What's your name, please? Response, I am Ong Ryan, Mr. President. Question, Ong Ryan with the N at the end or M at the end, please? Response, I am Ong Ran, N at the end, R-A-N, rather R-E-N. The President, thank you, Mr. Ong Ran. Apart from this name, do you have other name? Response, no, I don't. Question, Mr. Ong Ryan, how old are you? Response, I don't remember how old I am, but I was born in 1960. Rather, 50. The President, you said you were born in 1950. Where were you born? Response, I was born in Tang Po village, Pram Bay Mum commune, Tpong district of Kampong Speu. The President, Kampong Speu province, is that correct? Response, yes, it is, Mr. President. Thank you. Question, where do you live? Response, I now live in the Chrum village, Pao commune, Tropang Prasat district of Udon Mien Chey. Question, what do you do for a living? Response, I am a farmer, and at the same time, I am a member of a council, district council. Question, can you tell the chamber, please, your parents' names? Response, My father is Cat. My mother is Sim. They both passed away. The President, can you tell the chamber your parents' surnames? Please tell the chamber the surnames of your mother and father. Response. My father's surname is Ung. He is called Ung Cat. The President, what about your mother's surname? Please repeat because you responded when the mic was not yet activated. Please be advised that you should observe some pause before you proceed to respond. You may proceed. What is your mother's surname, please? Response. My mother's surname is Hong. She is Hong Sim. Question. What's your wife's name and how many children do you have? Response. My wife's name is Phước Rat. We have 4 children. The President, thank you, Mr. Ran. According to the report by the greffier of the trial chamber, you are not in a relationship with an accused or a civil party. Is that correct? Response. Yes, it is. The President, according to the report by the same greffier of the trial chamber, you already took an oath in accordance with your religion to state the truth. Is that correct? Response. Yes, it is. The President, next, the chamber would like to notify you of your right under Rule 28, right against self-incrimination of witnesses. As a witness, you may object to making any statement that might tend to incriminate you. In other words, you have the right not to incriminate yourself. As a witness, the testimony that you are to give shall relate to what you have had knowledge of, borne witness to, experienced and lived through and heard, and that it shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And you shall respond to all questions put by the judges of the bench and parties to the proceedings. Do you understand this right and obligation as a witness, Mr. Witness? Response, yes, I do. The President, thank you, Mr. Ryan. Have you ever given any interviews to any investigators of the co-investigating judge's office? If so, how many times have you had or have you given such interviews and where? Response. I was interviewed at my home in the Chrum village of Pao commune. I was interviewed on 3 occasions, if I remember correctly. The President, Thank you. Before you appear before the chamber today, Mr. Ryan, have you read or have you been read out any of your statements you made before the co-investigators on that 3 occasions to refresh your memory? Response. Yes, Mr. President, I have reviewed the record of the interviews, although I don't remember the details. The President, according to the best of your knowledge, do you believe that the statements or the accounts you have just reviewed are consistent with the statement you made before the co-investigators on those occasions? Response. Yes, I have read the statements and I can confirm that first, I was asked about the attack into Phnom Penh when I got injured and admitted to a hospital in Tang Krasang. The President intervenes. Well, I was not asking you this question. Indeed, the question I put to you was that you were interviewed on 3 occasions by the investigators, and you indicated that you have read the statements again to refresh your memory. The question was that were those accounts consistent with that you just reviewed, consistent with what you gave to the investigators on those occasions, or were they different? Just give us the brief overall point of this. You will be asked specific questions on this in a moment. Response. I already reviewed the statements I made and reconsidered them. The President, are they consistent to your statements? Response, yes, they are. The President, thank you. The Chamber would like to inform the co-prosecutors that during these testimony sessions of the witness, prosecution will be allocated or will be offered the opportunity to put questions to the witness first. You may proceed. Co-prosecutor. Thank you, Mr. President, and very good morning to you, Mr. President, and your honors, and good morning to my learned colleagues and Mr. Witness. I am Chawan, the co-prosecutor, along with my colleague, Mr. De Lai Sak. We have a few questions to put to you. And before we proceed to put in the questions, I would like to seek Mr. President's leave so that I can hand over the record of the interview, the written record of witness interview document E3/402, E3/84, and D369/11, and D232/36. After this, I would like to proceed with my questions, and with the documents, we believe that the witness can be asked some questions to confirm his statements. The President, you may proceed, and court officer, please bring the documents from the co-prosecutor to the witness for examination. Co-prosecutor, Mr. Ong Ran, now you have the documents of written record of witness interviews, the statements you made before the co-investigators. Regarding the statements you gave to the investigators, in your statement document D369/11 under question number 3, you indicated that before 1975 you worked at the battalion from a special zone. Can you tell the chamber, please, when you joined the army, and tell the chamber also during the first time you joined the army, where were you stationed? Response. First, I joined the army in late 1970, says the witness. By 1970, I worked at Tang Po village and then moved to Thmat Pong location west of Kampong Speu. At that time, a small battalion, or rather a battalion number 3 was established. Question. When you joined the army, who introduced you into the revolution? Response. Jake On was the person who introduced me. Question. Who was Jake On? What did he do? Is he alive? Response. At that time, he was responsible for the district and also the sector committee and the military. Thank you. Question. Can you also tell the chamber, please, what did the special zone do? Response. The special zone was tasked with dealing with the people at Ang Snul and Thmat Pong, and they had to make sure these people could work in Phnom Penh. Question. Can you please be more precise on this? When you say they dealt with people, what kind of tasks were they involved, did they engage in? Response. When it comes to people work, is about the gathering of forces, to gather people together to join forces so that we can strengthen the forces. Thank you. Question. Who was the commander of the special zone? The President. Witness, please observe some pause. You may proceed. Response. At that time, there was no such special zone force. Jake On was overly in charge at the beginning. Question. Is it fair to say that at that time the special zone was not yet established, But how could you respond, or who did you respond to? Did you report to Check On or to other people? Response, we only reported to Check On because Check On was the only person we contacted. Thank you. Under the same statement or written record of witness interview, you stated that your division was from the special zone and that there was another division from the north under the command of Tasan. These two divisions merged to become a regiment to attack and liberate Phnom Penh. I would like you to elaborate on this point to confirm. You said the soldiers from your unit combined with another group of soldiers to form the regiment. When did that happen? Response, I believe it was about in 1972. Question, at that time, who had the authority to command such merge of the military of other units to form this regiment? Response. The interpreter could not hear the full message from the witness as he spoke when the mic was not properly activated. Question, could you please say again? Response. It was Check On who was in charge of the sector committee and the command office of that zone. Question, is it fair to say that it was the order made from Check On that the units merged to form the regiment? Response, I don't know for sure. However, I believe that no one else other than Check On who could be the person who was behind this decision. Question, under your written record of witness interview before the investigators, you talked about the brigade number 14. What was the role of brigade number 14? Response, before Brigade 14 was established, there were some regiments that were merged to form this brigade, and it was tasked with proceeding from on National Road number 4 to the direction of Phnom Penh. Question, what did this brigade do? What kind of activities? The President, please observe some pause, Mr. Witness. You may now proceed. Response, Brigade 14 was tasked with gathering forces to proceed to the direction of Phnom Penh.
And the second task was to engage in the combat military training. Question. What was the name of the commander of Brigade 14, or what was his code name? Response. The commander of Brigade 14 was Su Sarun, alias 05. And San had his code name 06. Question. What was your position in Brigade 14 during that time? Response. After the brigade was formed, my role was to be in charge of a regiment. Question. Can you recall in Brigade 14 how many soldiers were all together after the merge of all those various regiments? Response. I could not grasp the total soldiers of the entire brigade, but in my regiment there were a total of 500 soldiers. Question. In your regiment, did you know a soldier by the name of Kang Mut? Response. I did not know anyone by the name of Kang Mut. Question. What was the name of your deputy? Response. My deputy was Soon. I do not know his family name. Question. Regarding Brigade 14, did this brigade engage in any battlefield in their fight against the Lunar soldiers prior to 1975? Response. Brigade 14 engaged in the attack on the Lunar soldiers. Question. When did it start? That is, regarding the attack on Lunar soldiers, did it start around 1973-74 or it's earlier? Response. The attack on the Lunar soldiers commenced prior to 1974. Question. Again, regarding the attack on the Lunar soldiers, can you tell the chamber briefly the locations where your brigade stationed and attacked? And what were the hot battlefields? Response. Regarding the battlefields that our regiment engaged, I only talked about my regiment. It was at the Trapang Tnaut railway station, at Bat Dang, at the Praset mountain, as well as at Poon Phnom. We engaged in the first wave of attack at these locations. Question: did your regiment engage in the attack at Opamat and Thnol Toteng? Response: to the north of National Road number 4, it was part of a Brigade 14 force as well, but it failed under a different regiment that I did not know the details. Question: can you indicate to the chamber regarding your attack on the Lunar soldiers? Did you encounter a specific event or incident of what happened when the Lunar soldiers were captured by the Khmer Rouge force? Response: I personally knew that in our activities, or what we did was based on the instructions of our superior or the commander. We were instructed to fight the Lunar soldiers, and that's what we did. They were considered as our enemy. Question on the same issue. And as you said, you received your orders from your commander to attack the Lunar soldiers whom were considered enemy. And what happens to the Lunar soldiers after they had been captured? Response: my duty was at the front battlefield. As for the soldiers who were captured, they would be sent to the rear, and I did not know what happened to them. Thank you. Question: in Brigade 14, did it involve in the attack at Udong in around 1974? Response: yes, Brigade 14 did engage in the fight in that area in 1974. Question: if it did, can you indicate to the chamber what kind of battlefield was Udong? Was it a hot battlefield? Were there a lot of casualties? Response: Udong battlefield resulted in a number of casualties on the Lunar soldiers and the destruction of a number of armored vehicles. My regiment did not engage in that battlefield, but the force was from the southwest. Question: was that brigade assigned to assist in the fight at the Vihir Kapu temple or pagoda? Response: no, it was not assigned to that area. Other regiments could have been assigned to fight in that area. Question: regarding the preparatory plans to attack at Udong, did you know who was overall in charge in making such a plan? Response: regarding the preparatory plan to attack Udong, It was solely the responsibility of the brigade commander that it take on, as I said earlier. And it was done prior to the form of that brigade. Question, you said that the commander and take on forms the plan. What was the name of your commander? And was there a meeting for such a plan? Response. Allow me to say that the plan to attack Udong was formed only by my commander and Jane On. Besides that, I did not know anybody else in forming that plan. Question. Did you see your commander and Jane On holding a meeting, or what happened, and how did you know about the plan? Response. I received orders from the brigade commander and take on. That was at a place called Prampi Roong along National Road number 6. Question. Does it mean that you received orders from your commander and Jay On, whom called you for a meeting in the preparation for the attack on Udong? Is this correct? Response. Yes, it is. Thank you. Question. Can you indicate to the chamber of what happens to the soldiers living in Udong town after it fell under the control of the Khmer Rouge in 1974? Response. As I indicated, I only knew of what happened at my regiment, and we did not engage in the Udong attack. However, there was an overall plan for the brigade. The Southwest Force were to attack Udong, and our regiment was to prepare for the attack on the south of Udong. And after the liberation of Udong, I did not know what happens to the Udong dwellers. Thank you. Question. Were you aware that the town dwellers or other people under the control of the Khmer Rouge prior to 1975, were they evacuated from their residence to a cooperative or to other location? Response. Regarding the evacuation of people prior to 1975, I did not have any knowledge because my force was always at the front battlefield. So I did not know what happened to them or how they were evacuated. Questioned. In around 1974, while you were stationed nearby the Udong battlefield, did you notice the movement of people there? Response. As I indicated, I did not stay at the Udong battlefield. I was around Udong Prasat and Bat Dang. And the Udong area was under the Southwest Force. However, at the time of the attack on Udong, the brigade commander informed us to be vigilant on our path. Thank you. Question. Prior to April 1975, can you tell us the chain of command from the upper echelon to the lower level? How did you know who was at the most upper echelon and how the commands were relayed to the lower level? Response. After the attack on Udon, we received information that there was an arrangement from the upper levels to manage the spearhead of the Southwest Force. And it was the special zone force. And the upper person that came was Son Sen, alias Q. Question. Son Sen, alias Q, as you stated, did he issue orders to the lower level or to Brigade 14? If so, how the orders were relayed? Response. Allow me to say that this kind of work was not in the process that the upper level caused the lower levels to go and meet to issue commands, but it was through a chain of commands that is from the upper level to the division or brigade, and then from the brigade to the regiment. As for our part, we were called by the brigade commander to receive those instructions or orders. Thank you. Questions regarding the specific task that you will be called by the upper echelons to receive. What was the nature of such a task? Response. Let me give you an example. For example, a battlefield that needs to be attacked. And that will be considered a special task. And the upper echelon did not only call a brigade, but they would call the brigades as well as the regiments in order to meet, to relay the orders in order to succeed in the attack. Question. Is my understanding correct? If it was related to the attack or the fighting, then the upper echelon would call the brigades, the regiments and the battalions to receive those instructions directly from the upper echelon. Is that correct? Response. That is correct. However, in principle, it is not often that the upper echelon would call everyone in this regard. Thank you. Question. Who was the local commander that you could communicate with? Response. I could communicate by radio only within my brigade. Question. Do you mean that it would have to go through a specific person, specific individual? And if so, what was his name? Response. There was a radio operator attached to the brigade, and when we talked about 05, it means that the message would be relayed to the brigade. Question: in practice, during the fight in the battlefield, did you receive any orders from on the radio from the brigade as to which directions that your regiment had to attack? Response: it happened on some occasions. However, sometimes when we were to relocate it, there had to be a meeting convened at the brigade headquarters. Thank you. In your written record of interview, that is the second time, that is document E3/84 on Khmer page 00398518, and in English 00408400, and in French 00434427. You were asked by the investigator, and then you talk about the 23rd October. Rather, when the investigator asked you about the 23rd October, you mentioned about the meeting chaired by Son Sen, that is, quote, 15 days prior to attack on Phnom Penh, end of quote, at Dam Nak Sdat near Udong in Kampong Speu province. My question is the following. What were discussed during that specific meeting? Response. It was to the south of Dam Nak Sdat station, and before the attack on Phnom Penh, Son Sen called the brigade, the regiments, and the battalions to meet for a meeting that was held to the south of Dam Nak Sdat to receive the plan. Number one was to prepare our political stance in anticipation of the attack on Phnom Penh. Number two was to prepare the forces into various groups. And that was all. And in fact, point number three, if we could advance in our attack, we would have to strive our best to liberate the city. And as I stated in my interview, he did not mention anything about the evacuation of people. He focused only on the only thing, that is to advance toward Phnom Penh to attack and liberate the city. Question. At that time, what was Son Sen's role? Did he have his personal office or headquarters to the south of the Dam Nak Sdat station? Response. When I went to go for the meeting there, I only went there for a day or two, and there was no proper office. The meeting was held around the bamboo trees. At that time, we could not build any proper office as the area was bombarded. And that was the time that I met him in preparation for the attack. Question. While you met Son Sen at the time, did you know of his position or rank? Response. When I met Son Sen at the time, I did not know of his specific role or rank, but the person by the codename 06, who actually assisted in organizing the brigade, was close to Son Sen. He was known as Ta Wan Ta, or a man with glasses. That's all I knew. But I did not know of his specific role or rank. Thank you. Again, regarding Son Sen, in your response to the investigator of the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges, in document E3/84, in Khmer is 0039 8518-19, and in English 00408300, in French 00434427. You stated that during the meeting, Son Sen gave instruction that Phnom Penh has to be liberated as soon as possible, and he showed a road map for the attack on Phnom Penh. My question is the following. Did Brigade 14 prepare any specific locations for the attack on Phnom Penh during the meeting with Son Sen at the time? Response. In the preparation for the attack on Phnom Penh, at that time there was no proper stations or locations or barracks. It was mobile. So we stayed in our groups, in our various groups, in order to avoid the aerial bombardment. Question. In which direction did Brigade 14 advance toward Phnom Penh? Response. Brigade 14 in the attack on Phnom Penh was in between Tang Krosang Pagoda. Questioned. Upon arriving at the outskirts of Phnom Penh, which area did it reach first? Response. The advancement toward Phnom Penh during the attack, and I here talked only about my regiment. We attacked in the vicinity of Po Chin Tong, and the Southwest Force was attacking along National Road number 4. So the attack on Phnom Penh, we reached Po Chin Tong, and I was wounded and I was hospitalized at the Tang Krosang Hospital. And the advancement was made toward Phnom Penh, but I stayed behind at the Tang Krosang Pagoda Hospital. It was near the Po Chin Tong area. Question. In your attack from Tang Krosang Pagoda toward the direction of Po Chin Tong and before you were wounded, what happened to the Lunar soldiers who were captured or who surrendered? Response. As I stated earlier, prior to the attack on Phnom Penh, the prisoners of war who were captured in the battlefield or on the battlefield were sent to the rear. and I did not know where they were taken to because I myself never went to the rear. So I did not know what happens to them or what their fate was. Thank you. Question. Regarding the first evacuation, you stated in your written record of interview with the investigators from OCIJ, that is in document E3/84 on Khmer page 0039, 8519, and in English 0040, 8300, and in French 0043, 4428.
In that statement, you indicated that you got injured when you were attacking Phnom Penh. At the Pochentong location, you already noted that people were being evacuated from Phnom Penh. My question to you now is, how can you describe the situation of the people who were evacuated from Phnom Penh? Response. As I already mentioned, my forces could reach the Pochentong vicinity when I got injured and admitted to a hospital at Tang Krosang Pagoda. When there, I also learned that my forces reached or made advancement to the city. And at about 1 or 2 hours later, I saw people being evacuated out of the city. I asked where these people would be taken to. I got no answer because the only thing I learned at that time was that the people were asked to move forward. Perhaps these people were evacuated for fear that they would be bombed at. Question. When you saw them, when you saw the evacuees, were they transported on vehicles or were they on foot? Response. I know that there was no form of transportation for the evacuees. They walked and they could carry their luggage on pushcart and bicycles, and the roads were filled with crowd of people. The paddy fields were also packed with the evacuees, and there was no track. Question. You said you saw people pushing the carts with their belongings when walking. Did you see any soldiers being present at among the crowd? Response. I have no idea whether the people would be pushed by any of the Khmer soldiers because I did not bear witness to this. However, I believe that people could never be evacuated in such huge number without the moving force behind them or without being pushed by others. Question. Is it fair to say that people did not volunteer to leave the city, but they were forced to leave the capital? Response. It is correct to say that without such coercive measure, people would not have left the cities, because it is a common sense that people would not wish to leave the place where they called home. It doesn't matter whether their home was not easy to live in, but they still would be hesitant to leave it. Question. You said your forces approached the Pochentong area through Tang Krasang passageway, and that the advancement was made into the city, and you saw people moving out of the city. Had you also noted that other people would be coming from the opposite direction? Response. I only saw people leaving the city. At the same time, I saw a few people who coming to the direction of the city. Perhaps they were soldiers or other civilians who would like to move to the city. It was rather chaotic. People had to go to different places at the same time. Question. At that time, did you see whether there were any checkpoints being set up to stop people from entering the capital city? Response. No, I didn't. Question. Regarding the Lon Nol soldiers and civilians who had been affiliated with the Lon Nol regime, to your knowledge, were you aware that there was such classification of people during the time of the evacuation? Response. Soldiers could be distinguished clearly. For example, soldiers belonging to Lon Nols and soldiers belonging to other factions, but there was no classification or distinction among the civilians. Question. At that time, was Brigade 14 tasked with arranging or working at the stadium? Response. There was an arrangement where Brigade 14 was tasked with patrolling on some roads. Question. How long had you been admitted to the hospital before you were discharged? Response. I was admitted to the hospital for about 17 days. I got injured at the vicinity near Pochentong and hospitalized at a pagoda. At that time, I also heard that people who engaged in the attacks to liberate Phnom Penh would then be allowed to go back and live at some predetermined locations where they could grow some vegetables. Question. You said that you had to be hospitalized for about 17 or 18 days. At that time, after you recovered, did you return to your Brigade 14 to work as the soldier, and where were you stationed, if so? Response. After being discharged from the hospital, I did not come back to Brigade 14 in Phnom Penh to start work. However, my men, my colleagues who worked for the brigade still attached to the brigade in Phnom Penh. I remember a person by the name of Sun who still worked at Brigade 14, who was stationed near the vicinity of the Lok Sang Hospital. Question. When you returned to your work after your injury, what did you do? Response. I was called by the commander of the brigade through a letter asking me to start work tomorrow, and I took a motorbike to see him, and he told me that the upper echelon would like to see me, and I then was asked to station where we were tasked with protecting the city. Question. When you were called by the brigade commander to start work again, what was your title at that time? Response. I already mentioned earlier that I belong to the regiment. I worked for the regiment. And I was called by the head of a brigade to come and work after my injury. Thank you. Question. After the 17th of April 1975, you stated that you worked at Borai Kaila at Sit Sokhan's house. Is that correct? Response. I never stayed in that house, but I stayed in a place which was to the west of that house. And at that time, the commander of the army was the person by the name of Sun. Question. Is that correct that you stayed at a place to the west of Borai Kaila? The President, Mr. Witness, please be reminded that you observe some pause. You may now proceed. Response. Yes, it is correct. Question. What kind of tasks did you receive when you stayed at the place to the west of Borai Kaila? Response. I did not receive any assignments when I was there, because we stay at the home as other people did, and we did not resume guard duties. Question: when you were there, were you aware of the purpose of Buray Kaila vicinity? What was it used for? Response: I have no idea what happened inside Buray Kaila. I had never known this location before, although I heard about it. I only learned that the house where I would stay would be located to the west of Buray Kaila. That's all. Question: in the aftermath of the 17th of April 1975, you were relocated to a special zone of the North Zone. Is that correct? Response: no, it isn't. Question: so from 17th of April 1975 until you had been relocated to a new location, what kind of tax your regiment received? Response: before we were relocated to another location, I did not see whether we were offered any significant tax. We were asked to clean the premises. That's all. Question: were you tasked with standing guard or giving protection for any other people? Response: as I already mentioned, forces were not assigned to stand guard, and people would be allowed to remain wherever they were, and we were asked to do some small things like I indicated. Thank you. Question: next, I would like to proceed to the military structure of the Khmer Rouge and information concerning Division 801 during the period of the 17th of 1975. The first question on this topic is about a big meeting or gathering that was convened on the 22nd of July 1975. The information of the meeting was also published on the revolutionary flag of August 1975. And before I proceed to ask you questions about this, I may wish to refer to the document. And with Mr. President's leave, I would like document to be put up on the screen. Document under Khmer ERN 00063324, English ERN 00411488, in French ERN 00538963. The President, you may proceed. Court officer, please bring the document from the prosecution to the witness. The President, International Co-Counsel for Mr. Kyew Sompon, you may proceed.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. For procedural reasons, I would like to object to the fact that the prosecutor is using documents without allowing us to have adversarial discussions on the merits of the document.
Co-prosecutor, I may wish to respond to my learned colleague. I already read out the ERN numbers of the document, and I may also wish to reiterate that this document is E3/5. ERN in Khmer is 00063324, English ERN 00411488. And French ERN 00538963. And the question that I wish to put to the witness is as follows. However, before that, I wish to also inform you that this information is obtained from the revolutionary flag of the Khmer Rouge issue on the August 1975 concern the meeting on the 22nd. The President, Mr. Witness, can you please look at the document and tell the chamber whether you have seen this document before? Response. I have looked at the document and I have never seen it before. Court officer, please remove the document from the witness and also remove it from the screens. Counsel Kanawaz, you may now proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, everyone. I would also object to the form of the questioning. It seems that the prosecutor first provides information to the witness as opposed to getting the information from the witness. For instance, she's told the witness that there was this meeting as opposed to asking the witness whether he attended a meeting. And then she describes what happened, that she characterizes the meeting as an important meeting. In other words, the prosecutor is leading the witness. So perhaps she could do it the classical way, just eliciting information from the witness. Thank you.
Co-prosecutor, I would like to rephrase my line of questioning for sure. The first question would be, have you ever heard or attended any meeting held on the 22nd of July 1975? The meeting attended by about 3,000 people. Response. I am not familiar with such meeting. I never attended any meeting attended by such huge number of participants. Thank you. In your statement before the co-investigators under document E3/84 Khmer ERN 00398517, English 004T8399, and French ERN 00434426. You said that the appointment of Division 801 was done in a meeting at Olympic Stadium where all leaders attended, including Pol Pot, Nuon Chea, Ieng Sari, and Son Sen. My question to you is, was Division 801 appointed in a meeting attended by a huge crowd of soldiers, or was it done on a separate meeting? Response. Your question is about my meeting with Son Sen and other soldiers who gathered to attend the meeting. To me, such meeting was not an assembly. It was a meeting where Brigade 14 would be assigned a new task, that it would be relocated to Ratanakiri. In that meeting, indeed, Pol Pot, Nuon Chea, Ieng Sari, and Son Sen attended. And that's what the account I remember, and there was no another follow-up meeting, and it was not attended by thousands of people other than these people. Question: where was the meeting convened? Response: it was conducted at the stadium. Question: on the same issue, under the same document, you also said the leaders who attended the meeting, including Pol Pot, Nuon Chea, Ieng Sari, and Son Sen, and he also brought an appointment letter to introduce to the meeting. Do you still remember what kind of agenda being discussed when Division 801 was appointed? Response: the division, rather Brigade 14 was elevated into Division 801 was decided by this group of people I already mentioned. And the letter was presented to us by a person who was part of the chairpersons of the meeting, and the letter was pronounced to the whole meeting by that person. Question: during that pronouncement of the appointment, did any of the leaders who attended the meeting say anything about the responsibilities and roles of the new division? Response: during the meeting, there was clear agenda. At the beginning, the items of agenda would be pronounced to us, and that people who were engaged in addressing the meeting would be called to take the stage, and Pol Pot also had something to say about this appointment. Question: did any other people, including Pol Pot, come to the stage to share their view concerning the roles and responsibilities of Division 801? Response. After the pronouncement of the appointment of Division 801, Pol Pot was the one who made such a pronouncement, and he discharged these duties to the division. No other people were involved in presenting the tasks to this division other than Pol Pot himself. Question. Was Pol Pot also the same person who said that Division 801 would be relocated to Ratanakiri, or was this pronouncement made by other people? Response. It was Pol Pot alone who said so. He said that Division 801 would be stationed in this particular area, and that he also discussed the tasks of the division. Question. After this appointment, how long would it take for the division to be relocated to Ratanakiri? Response. I don't remember the exact duration of time, but I believe that it was about 2 months, because by September we had to be on the move. Some would have to walk, when others would be seen riding bicycles. And by November we reached Steng Trang province. The President, thank you, the co-prosecution, and thank you, Mr. Witness. It is now appropriate time for lunch adjournment. The chamber will adjourn until 1:30 p.m. Court officer is now instructed to assist the witness during the adjournment and have him return to the courtroom when the next session resumes. Security personnel are now instructed to bring Mr. Kilsompon to his holding cell and have him return to the courtroom by 1:30 p.m. The court is adjourned.
សូមក្រោកឈរ